To our reflection workshop. So I've got a bit to say tonight, and I also want to get you working as well and doing some reflecting. So Dharma said he started us off really well tonight with his reflections on old lang syne. And well, the real message of old lang syne is metta. And I thought that was really a great way to start things, because it is, New Year has just turned. And this is often just a natural time, isn't it, where we kind of tend to think about our lives and what's going up ahead. Because it's quite dark, the weather's awful, there's a kind of, we've got a bit of time off work usually. It's a kind of natural time to do that. And of course, that comes out in the form, very often, of New Year's resolutions, which are a bit of a mixed thing, I think. I think New Year's resolutions can be really good. They can really make a difference and affect your life, and they can also be incredibly superficial. I've certainly experienced that superficiality with, oh yeah, I'm going to lose some weight this year, oh, I'm going to kind of become a vegan, I don't know, whatever it is. But there's often not a lot of weight behind it. It's just something that other people are doing. And I've got a friend who runs the YMCA gym where I go to. And he says, January, there's just this massive load of people and almost all of them have left by February. Because they can't, and it really happens every year, they can't really keep it up, because there's not enough weight kind of behind the resolution, as it were. But thinking about your life and how you can go deeper and make deep changes to your life, meaningful changes, is always a good thing. You don't have to do that in New Year. You can do it anytime. So it's always a good thing to do that. When I was back in 1978, when I was 19, I remember I made a really weighty New Year's resolution. I decided that somehow I was going to get to art school. I was living in Canada at the time, and that was not an easy thing for me, for various reasons, to get to art school. Because I was working each day in agricultural jobs, and I was so fed up with all that. And I got there was a lot of weight behind it. I got to, my whole life changed. My life's never been the same since after I went to art school. And what flowed from that was, it was a wonderful thing to do. But it really wasn't easy getting money together, getting the qualification to get to art school, but it was a weighty thing. So the question arises, how do we reflect a bit more deeply on our lives? Well, that's what the workshop is all about, see. Because reflecting deeply on life is an aspect of mindfulness, of self-awareness. Yeah, to really know yourself, to be aware of yourself, is always a good thing. That's how you go deeper. So I'm going to introduce you to a couple of the first is an aware mind is a happy mind. A happy mind is an aware mind. Yeah, so you want to get happier, you want to have more satisfaction, deal with your life better, you need to be aware. If you're aware, and we'll go into what that really means in the workshop, if you're more aware, naturally you will be more satisfied with your life, whatever's going on. It's such a crucial starting point. And here's another one, which is quite interesting. He says, while other people are busy making up our minds for us in small matters, we are at liberty to make up our own mind home in great. So the big things are up to us. But the little bits of legislation and what side of the road we kind of drive on, how much income tax we pay, somebody else can deal with all that. We don't have to deal with all that. But the really big stuff about where our lives go, that's up to us. We've got to do that. And it's important that we do, because so much of modern life is incredibly superficial. It's superficial and shallow. Modern life is very, very shallow around us. And there's great things about modern life, but there's all this advertising superficiality going on. So it's up to us to make a difference. I was listening to Radio 4 this week, and there was an ex-prisoner on Radio 4. You might have heard of him. He's called Andrew Malkinson, and he was wrongly convicted of a serious crime and spent 17 years in prison. 17 years. He could have spent less time if he'd owned up to the crime, but he said, I didn't do the crime, so I'm not going to do it. But one of the things, the main thing that kept him going through a really tough time in prison was Saddharaja. He was very lucky in that the visiting Buddhist chaplain was an order member called Dharma Akupa. He went and meditated with him every week, taught him the Dharma. For a lot of that 17 years, they meditated together. And Andrew Malkinson said, I wouldn't have got through without that. I saw that I had the opportunity to move away from hatred, as Dharma Siddhi was saying, and move towards love, metta, towards everybody around him, and that makes such a difference in life. That's an example of where you take on the big things for yourself. But you don't need to be a Buddhist to reflect the big things. As I say, so much of modern life is superficial and trivial, so it's up to us to actually make it meaningful for ourselves. How do we do that? Well, Buddhist scriptures have got quite a lot to say about this, and there are quite a number of scriptures that are just out there that are there for you, anyone, not just Buddhists, followers of the Buddha, anyone to reflect on. So here's one from the Pali Canon. It's got an incredibly long name. So anybody who can kind of pronounce that, I've just been really, really impressed. But it's generally known as the Upajjhatthana Sutta, which roughly translates as 5 contemplations for everyone. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. The sutta itself actually says this is for every single man, woman, and child on the planet. This is something that you need to really reflect on. Okay, so I wonder if somebody could just come up and read it out for us, if somebody would like to do that for us. Brilliant. Oh, great. You arranged this before.
5 Contemplations for everyone. I am sure to become old, I cannot avoid aging. I am sure to become ill, I cannot avoid illness. I am sure to die, I cannot avoid death. I must be separated and parted from all that is dear and beloved to me. I am the owner of my actions, heir of my actions. Actions are the womb from which I have sprung. Actions are my relations. Actions are my protection. Whatever actions I do, good or bad, of these I shall become heir.
So it's quite short. It's pretty pithy. There's nothing superficial there. It's quite deep. It's a bit challenging, but it's ultimately very, very creative. And we're going to go into that in a minute. So what I'd like you to do now is find groups of 3. Let's find groups of 3, and we're going to have a bit of discussion. And I'm going to lead you through a little reflection. You like to find your threesomes from comfortable chairs at different points in our lives. It's bound to happen. Well, there's 5 facts here, 5 contemplations, and the first 4 had a massive effect on the Buddha to be. Yeah, these the first 4 here. Before he became the Buddha, he really saw those things. There's no question of superficiality, because these first 4 facts are quite hard to take, aren't they? In normal superficial society, which we're often in, people don't want to talk about death. They don't even want to talk about getting old. And they don't even like to talk about illness and really deal with it and enter it. But actually, there's nothing you can do about these things. Beyond a certain point, they are going to happen. They're in the post, they're on the way to you. It's going to happen. So they had a very big effect upon the Buddha. And they are hard to take, but there's real benefits to reflecting positively on them in your life, along with standard Dharma practice, really, if you like. And it gets away from the intoxication of youth, for one thing. And the intoxication of youth isn't something that just young people experience. It's something that middle-aged and old people experience as well, because we really would like to still be young. That's the trouble, and it's pointless because you're not, and you need to embrace where you are now. So yeah, once I was 19, now I'm 65, and kind of I need to embrace that, and I think I have done. And also, it loosens our craving for just purely worldly happiness and satisfaction. Yeah. We're just focusing on, well, if I could just get more money this year, if I can buy that other car, if I can meet somebody special, and all these sort of things, we want worldly happiness. And there's nothing wrong with that. But do know that those things aren't reliable. And even if you get them, it's going to come a point where you're going to. And I'm really seeing that with my 93-year-old father. His nature, his personality is just it's no longer my family. But for his partner, it's tragic. She's so attached. Very, very sad. But one of the things that it gets to do is, as Kenny mentioned, it gets you to really appreciate what you've got at the moment. We're all here, we look quite healthy, we've probably got enough money, we've probably got things to do in our lives, our bodies are working more or less. We can just take that for granted. This time next year, that might not be the case. We just don't know. So really make the best of the moment that you're in. It's so important. And of course, it gets you to reflect on the law of karma. So I'm going to say a bit more about the law of karma and what we can do, how we act, and how important action is, particularly ethical action. But I'll say a little bit more than that. Just to remind you, we've got the 5 precepts, ethical precepts. Does everybody know them? So I don't really need to go into all that too much. So it's all about things you're moving away from, like hatred, and moving more towards kind of love, moving away from distraction, intoxication, moving towards mindfulness. Wonderful stuff, deeply radical stuff in our life. So that's what Upajjhatthana Sutta is really talking about. If you really want deeper change in your life, that's what it's about. It's about so much of that kind of stuff. You might think, oh, I know the precepts, but actually they're deeply radical. In terms of, you just took one of those precepts and really went a bit more deeply into it. In 2024, your life will change for the better. There's a bit more going on than just that. So say a little bit about contemplation. So you might really know a lot of this material from the Transform Your Life course, but hey, it's worth going through again, isn't it? And seeing some of it. So it's very common for people to think about karma as when bad things happen to you, that's your karma. And actually, there's a lot more going on than that. Karma simply means action, or willed or volitional action. And it includes actions of body, speech, and mind. And according to Buddhism, that is all of you. There is nothing else other than your body, what you speak or what you write and your mind. And the fruits and consequences of action are called karma. So that's interesting, isn't it? And it's all about skillful and unskillful behaviour. But to fully understand karma, it's helpful to see it within the Buddha's fundamental insight, his main teaching. It's part of that called conditionality or conditioned. So this was the fundamental insight the Buddha had, that led to his enlightenment, was he saw through this, saw that the whole of reality is made up of processes that aren't random, or predestined. They arise and pass away in dependence on a whole network of conditions. And he saw that it applied to absolutely everything. The processes in the external world, the processes in your mind, and even the processes which allow you to become an enlightened human being. There was, it's called, Sanskrit is Upajjhatthana Sutta. And there was a 5th century scholar called Urgosha, and a 20th century teacher called Saddharaja, who categorized the processes of conditionality, ranked them into an order of importance. So I'll say a little bit about those. So you might come across this, the 5 niyamas. So conditionality is going on, that's the fundamental insight. But the main 2 that we're concerned with is Dharma niyama and Karma niyama. So the law of karma is that applies to ethics, our ethical action, or otherwise. Dharma niyama is those kind of conditional actions that give rise to the enlightened states of going on retreat. If you go on retreat, you meditate, like we're doing today, develop friendships with people, study the Dharma. These are all Dharma niyama actions, and they'll have fruits, positive fruits. And karma niyama supports Dharma niyama. Conditionality is going on these other lower levels, lower psychology, things that happen to us on psychology through our car accident, we'll probably be a bit traumatized. It's going to happen. It's usually what happens. And you can see the connection. Biology, there's all sorts of things. Put some seeds and soil, water it, give it some sunshine. And then all the physics, the laws of physics and chemistry. Gravity, well, everything's all about gravity, says Professor Brian Cox. I watch his programs. It's all about gravity. It's fascinating stuff. But yeah, that's reality. That's a way of looking at that. It's wonderful stuff. Still a couple months, man. Yeah. So Buddhists are concerned with the last 2 things. They're the things that really make a difference in your life in a positive way, help you go much deeper than just wanting to go to more parties this year. So yeah, the law of karma governs ethical life. If you act skillfully, well, there's a lot of more enrichment in your life. It's a bit more expansive, your life's a bit more expansive. And you feel more connected with other people, like Saddharaja was talking about in this development. There's a spiral path towards enlightenment, and you've got purpose. You're more aware about life, really living life. So we don't have a good and bad kind of framework in Buddhism, really. It's more subtle. Buddhism encourages you to examine your actions and also your intentions. Yeah, what do you really intend? What are you really after here with that? So really looking at your mental state as well as what you physically do. It gives you practices and teachings to help you to transform yourself. Unawareness to awareness, selfishness to unselfishness, ill will into friendliness. It's all there. But that's got some implications. Yeah, because of the 5 niyamas, we can't always really be sure of what is the cause of something that happens to us. So just say you get a stomach ache one day, your stomach is improved. It's kind of really irritating. I've had this today. And, well, it could be on a lower level of niyama. It could be, well, I've eaten something bad. There's a biological process going on. So it could be that. Or it could be that I'm stressed at the moment and I'm anxious and I'm really worried about something. As an effect. Or it could be even to do with Dharma niyama. Like you're going on a retreat. You've never been on a retreat before and you're really scared, excited, kind of, I've got to do this, and that might give you gollyballs. So we can't know sometimes what the causes of things that we experience. Sometimes it can be the result of quite a number of different things, a mixture of them. So just coming towards the end now, the processes and operations of our minds are also actions. So your habitual mental states etch themselves on your character. Buddha likened it to a rock carving. You get like these rock carvings and Sikkim and Tibet and these sort of places. It's a bit like that, or a bit like going to the graveyard and seeing all the kind of carvings on there. So we're actually doing that to our minds. How the kind of mental states that we're habitually in. And if you act continually from a positive mental state, awareness, generosity, that will transform your character. That will change the kind of person that you become. So we can't say what is the cause of every single thing that happens to us. However, we do tend to create the world that we live in. Yeah, the kind of world that we see, how we see it, well, that's up to our habitual mental states. You do meet people, don't you, that do a lot of complaining, a lot of moaning, and that, so they will see a really bad world. They can't see the beautiful flowers, the sunshine. People moan about the rain, for instance, but rain can be very beautiful. There's lots of poems in Zen Buddhism about the beauty of rain when you're on the trip. Just depends on how you want to look at things. So our actions create our world, and everybody's different. So the law of karma is a natural system or principle, and the Buddha just presents it. Just like Sir Isaac Newton didn't invent gravity, he just observed it. He said, well, this is what's going on. And Buddha observed karma operating in the world, and whether we see it or not doesn't matter, because it is operating. There's no need for a cosmic kind of overseer to be in charge of it all. It doesn't need that. It's just going on. And its operation isn't always obvious. You've got to be quite mindful to really see the connection between how you operate. I remember when I very first came into the Sangha, like quite a lot of other people, I used to swear quite a lot, something that you never hear in the Sangha. And I would have these conversations with nice people, and then I'd sort of see they were kind of backing off me. I couldn't get it, I didn't really know what the problem was. And then someone came and told me and said, do you realise the way that it's really quite unpleasant? Can you do something about that? So I changed it, stopped swearing completely, and then talking a long time ago, 50 years ago. But it was different, and I wouldn't have seen that. So often we're not mindful enough to see what we're doing and recognise the play of karma that's going on in our life. So what I'd like to do now is, that's quite a lot of input from me. Let's get back in our groups and just chat a bit more about any aspect of what I've been talking. We're really interested in talking about it. What I'd like you to do now is just sort of reflect for a little bit and just make yourself comfortable. Just given the kind of input that we've had this evening and the discussions, go back to that sutra again. Well, actions do have consequences. These are the facts. At a certain stage in your life, all these habits built up, got this momentum in your life. Well, what's going to happen next? What would you like to have happen? Because a lot of it's up to you. The big stuff is up to you. You don't have to worry about the little stuff. Other people can take care of that. But your life is up to you. What sort of changes do you want to make? Let's just close our eyes now. Just a few minutes of reflection. what the area might be, the sorts of things that you might want to change. What's your emphasis? That's a little bit of a kinder work. Do you like to things? You can take kind of other people into consideration. Do you understand a bit more? Well, just the inputs. Is there someone that you hate in life that you let go of that hatred? So that you become a neutral person instead. Some metaphors. Is there something in your life you know you're doing which you're not totally happy? No, your life would be better. When could you be making a bit more effort? So just stand back in imagination, just as it stands at this moment. What will change? Just be receptive and connected. Answers, don't worry. Just go to bed. So I'll just read the sutta out again. Nice discussion about anything that's occurred. I'm sure to become old. I'm sure to become ill. I'm sure to go. Us, we said those that have parted from I am my actions. They are my actions. Actions are the womb from which I sprung. Actions are my relations. Actions are my protection. Whatever actions I do, good or bad, with these I shall become. So, one last discussion. So that is the creative, spiritual, transcendental message of the Upajjhatthana Sutta. I hope you got something from it. And well, if you have, well, you can add that in with auld lang syne and other kind of messaging, resolutions that you've got going on in your New Year's resolution.